Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Ian Graff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 207, horror is the ultimate genre, and more importantly, or maybe I should say, probably the most important damn thing, is it's the most profitable, apparently, and there's so much other news to talk about in this week's episode.
There's also Lee, Terrifier 3, Smile 2, A Different Man, the new Netflix horror film Don't Move, and No Other Land that were on my list of what I watched this week. We'll get to that later on. And then Lachlan, you watched Anna Kendrick's directorial debut with Woman of the Hour and gave Bullet Train a rewatch.
What else could we have covered this year? And Ewan, I'm not sure how this was not higher on our most anticipated lists, since we have a history with this trilogy. Ewan has recently seen this. I have recently seen this movie now, and we have completed the Tom Hardy Venom trilogy, with us both seeing Venom The Last Dance this week. And, well, you'll have to stick around or just jump to the end of this entire podcast to hear us talk about it.
In full-on spoiler fashion, so let's get into all of that. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there.
Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is
me
gonna
a
be
hat as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
Welcome back, Lachlan. Maybe we should give them
Hello.
a history lesson on history lesson. It seems like we're teaching them something, but no. Why and how I guess Venom is kind of ingrained into the two of our friendships. A franchise has been coming out for the length that kind of we've known each other. It was in theaters when the year we first met. The first one. The second one was like throughout, well, when we already started the podcast, and then now we got the conclusion to it all. Care to elaborate for those who don't know?
Well, essentially, Ewan and I were a little bit drunk at, I think it was the Uni Bar, back when we were both in Queensland, and then we decided, hey, why don't we just go fucking see this Venom movie? And we caught the tram over to the cinemas. We watched Venom a little bit drunk. We had a fantastic time, I would say, and I think we enjoyed it. It's our guilty pleasure, Venom, and I think that's okay. Everyone's allowed to have that. And then a few years later, we watched Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage.
Let There Be Carnage. Yeah.
Don't quote me. Did we do a drunk cast for that one as well? Did we not get a bit lit for that as well? Yeah, we got drunk for that, and that was.
The drinking game, I think if you go to the Spotify, it's not on our YouTube, but if you go to Spotify and you type in Venom 2 or Let There Be Carnage, those episodes were initially Patreon-only releases, but we then decided that we don't want to lock off that content, so you can actually go back and listen to that episode. If you're rewatching, there's a drinking game that we played in it as well. We had a great bit of fun with it, because I think that one, like one of the rules was that each time they get like sexual or there's like a sexual reference made. And that movie, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but the writer of this first two, right? She wrote 50 Shades of Grey and is now the director of the third one. That movie was so horny. It was so horny. So we ended up getting drunk quite a bit. So yeah.
That leads to the question, Ewan. Are we, I mean, right now it's 5 o'clock for me in the afternoon. It's, 9, 10 o'clock for you?
It's 11 a.m. 11 a.m. But
okay.
It's like,
well, that's
specifically
somewhere.
because, exactly, it's 5 p.m. in Australia. If I go back to the Australian mindset, then clearly it is time to slurp down on some Venom juice. Look at this. It's
the fuck is that?
It's supposed to be black, but I think I've had this for years. It turned purple. I don't know if that's a good sign.
Oh, fantastic.
But this is like it.
So we are getting a drink? We're going to have a little...
We'll have to wait on that. The news, I think we do have to broadcast the news sober. And then once we get to Venom... We'll have
Okay.
we will have a drink to talk about that. I also have more alcohol. This is just a tiny shot. We can do more. We can have fun with Venom free. But Lachlan, there's a bunch of news. Again, we're gonna go over them in quick news fashion, rattle off the headlines, and then talk about a couple of specific ones. Like you teased, there's a horror report coming up from Stephen Follows that we're gonna get into. and some other big news items. So we're gonna be in the news for a bit because there's a shit ton as always.
There's a ton of shit
worth discussing. But yeah, let's get into the quick news. Stephen Fallow's horror movie report analysis covers over 27,000 horror films for the most detailed data-led insights into horror. We got a couple of stats to share and discuss later on, and also thanks to Stephen for sharing us the still embargoed bits of information for his now released report.
Good Omens will now end with a 90-minute long episode instead of a full season 3. This follows multiple sexual assault allegations against the original writer of the novel, Neil Gaiman. A new writer is being brought in to finish up the episode.
Warner Bros. Has acquired the rights to release Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights, starring Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie. Netflix also made an offer for reportedly $150 million, but the film's producers went with the lower offer from Warner Bros. To ensure a global theatrical release.
Someone in the world is trying to make an Office cinematic universe after the Australian Office has released a Mexican remake of The Office is now also in the works.
In a recent interview with Eva Longoria, it came out that she actually saved the John Wick franchise, or the first John Wick movie, from getting cancelled by giving the producers a $6 million check less than 24 hours before filming started to fill in the gap in the film's funding.
Liam Neeson says he plans to retire from doing action films by the end of next year. He says, "I'm 72, it has to stop at some stage." His latest action film, Absolution, releases this week.
Robert Pattinson will potentially star and produce Lance Oppenheim's Primetime for A24. The film is reportedly inspired by To Catch a Predator and follows a journalist who takes on the underworld of crime and changes television forever.
Oscar Isaac, Carey Mulligan, Charles Milton, and Kaylee Spaney will officially star in Beef Season 2. Season 2 follows a couple who witness a fight between their boss and his wife, triggering chess moves and coercion in the world of a country club and its Korean billionaire owner.
Colman Domingo will make his directorial debut with Scandalous, a film about the love affair between Kim Novak and Savvy Dennis Jr. Sydney Sweeney will star as Kim Novak, and David Johnson will star as Sammy Davis Jr.
Extraction 3 will start filming in 2025.
Marvel Studios has revealed 3 of the dates for their upcoming movies in 2028, releasing on February 18th, May 5th, and November 10th, and Blade has been indefinitely delayed.
There is a Gladiator 2 popcorn bucket that has finally been revealed, and guess what? It's not sexy, unfortunately, but there is a QR code that activates an artificial... What?
What a world we live in when I can't fuck my popcorn bucket.
Sorry, I'm gonna restart, Jesus. A new Gladiator 2 popcorn bucket has finally been revealed. There's nothing sexy about this one, like the alien head or any of the, Deadpool and Wolverine ones that came out.
Yeah.
But great news is there is a QR code that when you scan it creates an AR gladiator battle.
Then Tom Cruise and Alejandro G. Inarritu's new movie will begin filming as early as next month in the UK. It stars Riz Ahmed, Sophie Wilde, Sandra Hüller, Jesse Plemons, and John Goodman, and it follows the most powerful man in the world who tries to prove he is humanity's savior before the disasters he's unleashed destroys everything.
Tom Holland has been cast in Christopher Nolan's next movie.
Sony asked Netflix if they want to buy Harold and the Purple Crayon from them, but Netflix declined.
A Chick-fil-A streaming service has been named Chick-fil-A-Play and will launch on November 18th. The service will launch with a collection of original animated shows, scripted podcasts, cooking shows, and interactive stories.
It will also be homophobic and closed on Sundays. Avengers Doomsday will officially begin filming in spring. It's in theaters, May 2026. It's a whole thing with Chick-fil-A. They're they're very Christian. They're closed on Sundays. That's a joke. And the streaming service is also closed on. Yeah.
Warner Bros. Was originally planning to move Clint Eastwood's Juror Nr. 2 straight to streaming on Max. The film will now get a theatrical release in less than 50 theaters and a limited marketing campaign. This means they're not going to have a major release within the States, but internationally there will be a full support of Warner Bros. Getting full theatrical releases.
We'll have the full variety breakdown of this link below, and we're definitely going to talk about this in a second. Then Jason Blum says they're now working on the script for the live-action Dead by Daylight movie. He says it could be 5 years, it could be 12 months. You just don't know. You can't make the movie until the script is right. So that's a bit of a nothing quote so far, but it's in the works.
Maud Apatow sets Andrew Barth Fieldman, Cooper Hoffman, Leslie Mann, and Nico Parker to star in their feature directorial debut, Poetic License.
And then a talk with Steve Asbell, the CEO of 20th Century Studios, reveals new details about their franchises, including a new Alien vs. Predator movie probably happening, 2 Predator movies releasing in 2025, both directed by Dan Trachtenberg, one of them being Badlands starring Elle Fanning, that's out on November 7th in theaters, and is set in the future, and then a secret Predator movie that will release even before Badlands comes out. There's also a sequel for Alien Romulus in the works. Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson will likely reprise their roles. It's a bit of a spoiler, I guess, for their fates in that movie. And a new Planet of the Apes movie will release in 2027. There are no plans for a new Kingsman film anytime soon. And the UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira is in talks to make his acting debut alongside Adria Arjano in Adam Wingard's action horror thriller Onslaught for A24. There's a couple of more stuff. We'll also link that interview below. But Lachlan, that's the quick news. Let's talk about some of them. You want to kick it off with that interview from the CEO of 20th Century Studios? Obviously, we do like Alien. We do like Predators.
Yeah.
How about Alien versus Predators?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Like, sign me up, man. I'm totally down. I will... Oh, man. I will be first in line to see another Alien versus Predator movie. Because I feel like they fucked it up enough that they can't make something worse. So, I'm keen. Well, I mean, they fucked up the Predator.
And how long was Alien versus Predator?
Example.
Like, when was the Requiem?
That was like
when did that come out?
2006, maybe.
So
don't quote me.
2004 was Alien versus Predator, and then Requiem was in 2007. So it's been 17 years by the time this comes out. It's probably been like closer to 20 years. So I think in the time since then, with the advancements of CGI and all, this movie can be the spectacle it deserves to be, with it being stupid, just fun, 2 monsters clashing up against each other. I feel like that already gives a better ground for those movies to succeed. I'm rooting for them. You know, this is a franchise, 2 franchises that have had recent outings, still feel fresh, with great ideas. So I just hope they can kind of carry on that momentum. And yeah, I mean, for Alien, there's the Alien Earth series that comes out next year as well. So it's not like there's a dry spell for either of these franchises. What do you think about 2 Predator movies releasing in the same year from the same director as well?
I'm okay with it because I really liked Prey. So I feel like it could be a sort of, not like a back-to-back, but whether it's a sequel of some kinds or prequel of some kinds, I totally wouldn't be opposed for that. So, I mean, I'll hold my breath to see what because I haven't really got anything yet for Badlands. But look, I'm keen. I really enjoyed Prey. I like what they did with it. So I hope that it's in some good hands, and Dan Trachtenberg will continue to take care of this series that he clearly seems to enjoy, if he's going to be making 3 Predator movies. So I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I'm happy if there's 2 Predator movies next year. I'm totally down. Because yeah, if it's back to back, should be something good. Maybe like a like an X Maxine Pearl sort of situation where they did like a back to back recording, filming, shooting, like they were making Badlands, and then they thought, hey, how about we do like a weird like spin-off thing, very similar situation in the same area, something like that. So I'm kind of keen.
You did like the premise of it being set in the past, though, and this is set in the future. I think that part of it is maybe a bit less exciting about Badlands, but I'm very much open to just like kind of receive whatever they go for. And if this is the approach to go about it, to not give us a ton of details, because it is labeled as a secret Predator project, I don't know if they just haven't started promotion on it yet and they want to get the buzz up, or if the plan is to keep it a bit mysterious of what the premise is going to be for this one. In 2024, or 2025, when this comes out, that's going to be a hard thing to pull off, and I don't know if they even want to do it. But for audiences, especially I think for us, that would be a ton of fun to go into a movie like this not really knowing a lot about it. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to have promotion at some point, but it would just be exciting to like go into the movie totally blind.
Yeah.
And a new Planet of the Apes. I think that movie, the last one, what was it called? Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, or Kingdom for the Planet of the Apes, or whatever. It's just a bunch of prepositions in between apes and then like one, I don't know, dawn, rise, war, is getting a sequel. And I think that one established itself enough to really show a richer world, and it was clearly setting up future installments, probably likely also yet another trilogy. I think they've pretty openly talked about that, and with the release set 3 years from now, I think that's a pretty healthy timeline. Wouldn't be surprised though if it takes like until 2028 till this one comes out. And I think there was also, just, we didn't have this in quick news, I just saw this morning, the director behind the Ray movie, I think that one is not happening anymore. I forgot to include this in this week's news. It's not 20th Century, it's technically Disney and Lucasfilm there, but yeah, again, Star Wars is always in shambles, but it's nice to see that they have a couple of reliable franchises that they can grow. And Alien Romulus, I think we both really liked it. To me, it's one of my favorite films of the year. I really, really liked it that much. And I think Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson were incredible in their roles. So I'm interested to see their story continue. Although I know a lot of the Alien premises have often been to just give us a new team of people that then get infected. So going maybe into a slightly different direction of maybe doing a bit more world building for this, because I think the world building in Romulus at the start of the movie was quite strong. That makes me that much more interested in what Fede Alvarez is cooking. If he returns, I think he'll likely return for the sequel of this. But yeah, anything else? Kingsman, no more movies. Argyle fucked it.
Yeah, whatever.
He's out.
It's
after connecting those, yeah, it's like that's not a franchise that we are like. After the Kingsman and then Argyle, I think he has had two verifiable duds in that franchise. Although Argyle was only connected with that series through like post-credit scene, basically. Yeah. What do you want to get into next? Because I know the the Warner Brothers Clint Eastwood thing will get me heated because it's maddening.
Let's get out of the way then. Let's get out of the way.
Warner Bros. In the States will release Clint Eastwood's likely final film, because the man is 94 years old. Juror Nr. 2 in less than 50 theaters. I think the recent report I read mentions that there's like a couple of theaters in New York, I think like 6, and then 3 in Los Angeles and 1 in Chicago that already has it listed. And then like that's the ultra limited release that some movies get, right? Sometimes it's only just one movie in LA or New York. But often it's like those first like 10 to 15, maybe 20, maybe 50, until a movie gets into wide release, which is largely considered around 1,000. I think the United States have around like 5,000 to 6,000 theaters in total. Don't quote me on that though, I don't know for sure, but it just is like a really, really, really slim percentage of the total movie screens available. And Kevin and I discussed this a bunch, very in a heated way, because the disrespect from the studio that has been making movies with him for the last 50 years, Lachlan, is basically saying, yeah, no, we don't have confidence in your movie. Fuck that. We wanted to push it straight to HBO Max, and it's actually our courtesy. And we're actually really, really giving you a gift in a way to even put it out into theaters in the States. While worldwide, Warner Brothers has decided to release it. It releases here on the 1st or 2nd of January, and I assume it's going to get a pretty normal release here. The movie, from the trailer that we already discussed as well, it looks pretty good as well. So I completely do not get the decision from the skeeving little fucking dirtbag that is David Zaslav, who's had a really infuriating quote about this as well. He said it's not show friends, it's show business. That was basically one of the things that he said about this. Right? Basically putting the dollar amount above what I get a filmmaker of Clint Eastwood's caliber would deserve. And this kind of ties into how Paramount handled the last film of William Friedkin that was pushed straight to Paramount Plus after its Venice premiere. Kevin and I both got to see it in a theater, and I think it kind of worked well in that setting. It probably wouldn't have done crazy numbers. I think Juror Number 2 is a bit more of a bankable movie for the big screen, but I just think this is bonkers. Like, if you say the movie business is not really working in a theatrical release and maybe there wouldn't be an audience for it, who does it hurt? Like, what alternative has Warner Brothers this year that they really are not giving a fuck at all about, like, a potential good movie that could have like that could find its audience with like the last hurrah of a filmmaker that is at the end of his life, and at the end of his career as well. I think this is just like mad disrespectful, and just a bad direction for the business overall. I don't think you got as heated about this, Lachlan, but I don't know if you have anything to add, any other thoughts to this.
No, I think you pretty much nailed it in a great way. I think you were quite calm. I think you did a fantastic job keeping your level head.
I got some stuff out last night. So.
All I want to say is I think it's a fuck up. I think that it's a major misstep. I think that it's incredibly disrespectful as well. I think that that's mainly what it is. And I get it. It's show business, but this is one of the greats, and he has worked his entire life to really perfect
with Warner
his
Brothers
craft,
as well,
with Warner Brothers. And look, it's not the same company that he worked with initially. They have changed, and yes, they haven't had as many successes. But let me ask you this: in a different timeline where Joker 2 succeeded, would they actually have released this in theaters no matter what? Or are they really trying to cut corners to make it?
No, what was his other film that was like his last final hurrah to cry macho, to westerns, where he, like Kevin mentions this, he lays out in the grass and it's like basically a send-off to all the characters that he's played in the past. It kind of feels like that for the audience. Zaslav didn't like the performance of that movie already. So it's been something that I think was... I didn't like Cry Macho either. But, regardless of the quality of the film...
Kev's fingers, like, writing out the paragraph of how wrong we are.
No, well, he said I think he said he likes Cry Macho basically for the send-off that it presents for his Western characters. I think he kind of sees it as like not a great Western film as well. Anyways, I'm going to see it in theaters when it releases here in Switzerland. It's also worldwide, like it's just getting that theatrical release, maybe also in limited release, but just in the States, really. It's probably going to be like 25 theaters that it will be playing in, and then be on, likely also because they are stupid like that. They're probably going to like release it on HBO Max sooner than they should, and maybe that's even going to have an impact on the international release. Warner Bros. Is just stupid like that, so I wouldn't put it past them. But speaking of someone who ditched Warner Brothers, took their money and just left, Christopher Nolan has cast as someone new in his film that already had Matt Damon signed on, and it's Tommy Holland, Mr. Holland, not Tom
Mr.
Hollander.
Holland.
It's Tom Holland, Mr. Spidey guy.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Fine. Let's let this kid cook. I think Tom Holland hasn't really been given the best opportunities to perform. And I think that he definitely could. Like, I mean, yeah, cool. Spider-Man, yeah, whatever. Big break. Sweet. I think the Cherry run definitely had an opportunity there, but I will say that I think Cherry was more ruined by the writing and the narrative and where the direction went more than Tom Holland's performance. So I think that if this is, from what I hear, a main character, I would be keen to see what he does. That's not just him shooting webs out of his little wisties. So yeah, I'm keen. I won't hold it against him. I think he could do something pretty cool.
I mean, for Tom Holland, this is uncharted territory. It's not like it's the impossible that it's just him, like, chaos walking around. And it's not like, he's the devil all the time. But he hasn't popped his cherry yet with like an actual like big filmmaker. And this could be the role that has him step onto another level. Then we got the horror movie report from Stephen Follows. He was kind enough to share us a couple of the slides, the pages from his book that is going to be linked below. If you want to have a look at the whole horror movie report, you can buy it yourself. But we were shared, I think, roughly 30 pages of it. We took note of a couple of them that I think are worth discussing. The first one being how horror movies are released throughout the year, and how it is expected to kind of peak in October. Of course, it's the horror month. It's the Halloween month, of course. But you can kind of see that throughout the year, there's still a rather sizable chunk of films that are within the horror genre, even over the summer, especially in July and August. It exceeds most other genres. Yeah, I think this is not going to change. What we noted this year is that there were just like a ton of great horror films throughout the year. They didn't just like wait to dump them all at the end of October. But you can still kind of see here that there's a percentage of horror films that are first released in October, even now, even though horror seems to have, at least in my perception, taken a larger hold on the yearly release schedule. I don't know how that's been for you, Lachlan. Is that also something that you noticed, that like horror has a presence throughout the whole year?
I'm not surprised. And no, I'm not surprised at any of these stats. I think horror is a fantastic genre because it can be done easily and cheaply. And I say that with hesitation because there are fantastic examples of things that are done for so much money and suck, and are done for little money and suck in the horror genre because they do not kind of they just don't know what they're doing, or they don't know how to adapt a particular idea. But what I will say is horror is fun for everyone. And I'm not someone who goes out there to kind of want to watch a horror movie. I don't enjoy the idea of going to watch something because I want to be scared. I would rather be engaged with characters, and that's what I get more excited about with horror movies. And it's why I'm a little bit iffy about it. But the weird thing is, a ton of the movies I'm excited for this year were all horror. And a lot of the movies that I loved this year were horror prominent, they're predominantly horror genre. So having horror have all of these stats here that are pretty much just like, yep, they're successful, they're profitable, there's a ton of them, people love them, people go to the cinema for them over something like a Western, totally makes sense to me. And I think that it's a fantastic deep dive that I'm super excited to kind of get into, because numbers make me happy. And I would love to just dig into these numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you teased it here, the profitability like margin for horror. When you look at like apparently the sweet spot of horror is like somewhere between 5 to 10 or 10 to 25 million that show a 70.8 or a 65.8 respective estimated profitability margin, and you just don't see that with other genres, especially like you said, the Westerns, who's very much at the bottom, where you can expect about like 20% of them to make a return, whereas horror is all the way up there at like 50%. So there's a reason,
again,
you know.
I wanna get into why. Like, I know like genre matters. Like, a lot of people don't go to see Westerns these days.
There's also a stat that kind of shows us why, and that is, it's because if audiences and critics disagree if a movie is good or not, it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter if your horror movie is any good, right? That's one of the stat lines here. Correlation between Metascore and profitability. And for horror, the correlation is at less than 0.2%. When one isn't, obviously, like there's a 1-to-1 correlation. If the movie gets a good score, it will do well. The margin between horror and then jumping up to animation, which is at 0.8, there's like 0.6. It doesn't matter if a movie is rated well. Like, audiences will go out and seek them. And that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of the horror genres have continued their franchises for so long. But there's also a bunch of slides that we were provided about the decline of remakes, the decline of sequels as well. So you can kind of see that there's also more original horror being produced. And that's just a good thing overall. I think horror has always been a very healthy genre. It's also on the upswing as well. I think it's still growing too. Production costs are low and audiences will turn up, like you said, in a theater for it. You point to Uncharted or Mission Impossible claiming to keeping theaters alive. Well, yes, it's one movie that has a big thing upswing, but if you have horror films, horror fans are one of the most consistent moviegoers. And for example, like me working in a theater, it's like one of the things that I get most often asked for people who don't go to our theater. They're asking me if some horror film is playing at our place, if they don't know what an actual program is, like some niche horror film that they've heard about. So the marketing also works kind of in a word of mouth kind of way, in a digital sense as well for these movies. It's fascinating to me that like horror has had such a steady whole chokehold on the industry, but a good kind of choke. If you're really interested, then go get the book yourself. But just really, really interesting figures here overall. That's it for the news section. So let's have a look at some of the trailers that came out this week. First up, we're discussing the monumental trailer for the most monumental film ever made. The Brutalist from Brady Corbett had its premiere in a really nice, not always so crisp, but it was a very nice screening at Venice where I got to see it in 35 millimeters. It stars Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, and Guy Pearce. It comes out in the States, at least, on December 20th. And tells the story of the visionary architect Laszlo Toth and his wife Elspeth, who flee Europe to rebuild their legacy and witness the birth of modern America. Their lives are changed forever by a mysterious and wealthy client that that Laszlo Toth ends up building like this huge thing for. That's essentially the plot of the film. It's a really, really, really long one. It's so long that it has a 15-minute long built-in intermission. I think the film is accurately described by the various outlets calling it monumental, and they also put that on the poster and everywhere. I'm not a fan of the poster design, I gotta say. This is a decent trailer to show off a truly epic film. I didn't love it as much and wouldn't call it a masterpiece like many others have had who've seen it already at TIFF and at Venice. But it's still a movie to look out for early at the end of this year or early next year. Did this get you interested in The Brutalist as someone who's someone who is a perpetuator of the 90-minute movie experience that you really adore? Here's that, like, basically it feels like 3 times that.
I'm okay with long movies. I am just someone who thinks that with a lot of films in a weird 2-hour spot, they would be better at 90 minutes. But I am okay with long movies. What I will say is this just sounds like World War II Jewish megalopolis.
Well, yes, but the architecture is... It kind of is on that epic scale, but it focuses in on characters a bit more and is actually successful. So like this is, I think I saw this on Twitter as well, that sentiment, like this is everything Megalopolis wanted to be, and it definitely succeeds. So it's like, it's nice to get that version of that vision this year. Yeah, it's a very good film. I'm looking forward to the rewatch. Again, I'm not calling it a masterpiece. I think it's a great film though.
Okay, well, we'll see this masterpiece soon, hopefully.
Exactly. And then we got Ke-Huy Quan in his arguably, I think, first actual lead role, like at least, for a big movie. I've been a bit frustrated with the castings that he's been a part of because I think the characters haven't really served his potential range yet, and it has had me question if he actually like is up for that like huge movie business part, because they had him in Everything Everywhere All at Once that got him an Oscar. I think everything since then has had an interesting character for him to play. But in Love Hurts, that's out early next year on February 7th, he plays an action hero, kind of. He plays Marvin Gamble, a realtor working in the Milwaukee suburbs. He receives a crimson envelope from Rose, a former partner in crime he had left for dead, and it kind of thrusts him back into the underbelly of crime, where he used to be I think a ruthless hitman. At least that's the vibe I got from the film. Lots of action, over the top stuff. Ariana DeBose is also in this. Daniel Wu. I kind of tune out of action movie trailers if they don't have an interesting enough premise. This didn't really do it for me. But are you interested in Love Hurts, Lachlan?
I'm a mixed bag. I feel like it could be a nobody, and then nobody really wants to. Kind of no one's interested in it, but then it's actually a banging hit. Looks like it is directed by a stunt guy, so I feel like the action is going to be one of those really good action movies. Might suck when it comes to story, but hey, if there's good action, it keeps you entertained. It's a bit like another movie.
What? It was like a bullet time reaction time you need to have to kind of see what you were teasing there. We'll keep track of it again. February has kind of become the slower month of the year. Usually it has been January. So let's see if we can spice it up with a good action film placed in there, but we'll report back on it in February. Then out January 17th is the second season, or the start of the kickoff for the second season of Severance. Adam Scott is back as Mark Scout, as part of the team at Lumen Industries, where they undergo the severance procedure that kind of cuts ties between the outside self and the worker self. And it's a really interesting premise. I think people have really jumped on the bandwagon of calling this one of the great upcoming shows that we are seeing unfold right in front of our eyes. I'm still a bit reluctant to really sell into the premise and how its execution is. I think you haven't seen the first season yet.
Haven't seen it.
It doesn't really, interesting enough, the teaser here doesn't really spoil a bunch. It's basically this odd thing of having this weird, always being watched, Big Brother-esque workplace, people trying to kind of make sense of what's going on. So it's like a bunch of mystery boxes that have yet to be opened. Some were opened in the first season, and I think we're going to get a bunch more in season 2. I'm going to watch this as soon as it comes out. We'll report back on it, but so far I think the teaser alone here hasn't told me much about where it will go in, but it's a quality show over on Apple TV Plus, but we'll have to wait and see. Tim Fellbaum, a German director, has a film out called September 5. It's out December 13th in the States, and it's about the decisive moment that forever changed media coverage and continues to impact live news today. It's set during the 1972 Munich Summer Olympics and follows the American sports broadcaster ABC team that quickly has to adapt from sports to reporting live coverage of the Israeli athletes being taken hostage by Palestinians. Now, this trailer, I think, accurately sets up what the movie is going to be about. This premiered at Venice, where I got to see it. Kevin and I already have our review out that's on the channel that you can go see right now if you're interested in our thoughts. What has to be noted, though, is about this, as you can see, it's a lot about the coverage. It's very much in that time period. It's paying homage to that sort of reporting and being put into that position from the perspectives mainly of the Americans, and then from the Germans on side in this still post World War II first time there's a big international event being set in Germany where they have demilitarized the zone, which gives the ground for something like this to even be possible, with them not having a military and all that, so they're not ready for this. And it's not as much interested in the conflict as to why this happens. And there's something that gets left out that can easily be criticized. The movie can easily be criticized for. I don't think this is what the movie is ultimately about. You'll have to go in yourself to kind of see that. As a thriller, Lachlan, are you interested in September 5?
A little bit, yeah. Your review is pretty positive, and a lot of people's other reviews are pretty positive, so I guess so.
Yeah, it's just that I guess it doesn't show you the side of as we have now become more aware of the plight of the Palestinians, and understanding where this conflict, this terrorist attack sprung out of. That context was something that never was widely discussed in media until 2022, late 2022, 2023. So yeah, it's a complicated one if you want to criticize the film for that. But again, coming from a German filmmaker, I think he's way more interested in the state that Germany was in to even allow something like this to take place, and the responsibility that media has, and the coverage they do, and opening eyes, the collective mind to like these type of events happening and then becoming more and more the norm as we like consume them over the news. I think that's what its ultimate intention is, and in that it really, really succeeds. I can recommend the film a lot, and we're definitely gonna review it when it releases for you as well. Luckily, it might even be a dark horse player for the Oscars. But yeah, that's it for the news, the trailers, the quick news. If you want to support the show, then consider leaving a rating over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of those podcast apps, and leave a like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Goes a long way to help us grow, and maybe even recommend the show to a friend, a foe, a cat. We don't care. Anyone with 2 eyes and ears can view and listen to us. But Lachlan, let's get to what we've been watching this week. All right, it's time. Show me that bullet train cam. You've been teasing us the whole episode. How was it, your 4K experience from the Steelbook version of Bullet Train?
I watched it on streaming because I just had to.
I actually watched it on my Samsung fridge.
Yeah, watched it. Yeah, exactly. Look, you're gonna be laughing at me in a second because I lowered my rating down a little bit to a 3-star movie because there is just some stupid shit that happens, and
Some stupid shit, yeah.
It's a lot more stupid on the rewatch when the action doesn't have its sort of first time watch charm. So yeah, it got 3 stars from me. I think it is a lot of fun as a movie, but just this didn't click as well this time. I don't know. Everything was great. Everything was great. Just there's just some stupid dialogue in it. That's all. But it's part of its charm. Stupid dialogue. But that's it. Let's talk about an actual good movie that I saw, which was Woman of the Hour. You've seen this, right?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
You liked it? I liked it. I thought it was great.
I did. I think it did have its shortcomings. You could definitely feel that it was a directorial debut, and I'm not sure that focusing on her character does the story the biggest benefit. I think it was a great exercise of kind of showing that time period a bit more over just like, showing the killer, who, for anyone who doesn't know, the premise of this is set in the 70s, where a serial killer was on a dating show and was pretty openly killing people, and the police was just like not doing their due diligence to catch this guy. He was sentenced for life in prison after he got caught. There were 5 people that were confirmed that he had killed, but it could be upwards in the range of like 120 that could have potentially perished by his hand. It's like a haunting portrayal of this like person there. Ultimately, like this true crime stuff is always like, okay, what is your angle? And I think the angle is really good at showing how women were commodified in that time, right? Seen as like, oh, you're a dating prospect. What can you offer in that way? And reduced to not like their own aspirations. And I think that it does quite well. And I see why like Anna Kendrick's character then is the lead in it. It doesn't really perfectly come together and like click by the end to have like this whole like narrative through line. But you liked it too, right? So,
I did. I understand the shortcomings of a directorial debut. My personal frustrations was from how the movie kind of came together. It felt very disjointed. With all of these different narrative lines, and I thought we would hopefully have something a little bit more flowy, but hey, I won't reject it. But everything from moment to moment felt really good. Jumping back was a little bit jarring, but within the moment itself,
jumping forward as well.
Yeah. There was easy like setups that were just super frustrating, and you were meant to feel frustrated, similar to how there was a character that was being told that they will talk to a producer, and that kind of like the producer not coming, and you were frustrated because that kept going on and on and on. But then she got frustrated because she never talked to the producer. So there were things like that were quite engaging, because they were presented in a way that were how you were meant to feel, how the characters were meant to feel. So definitely well done in every single way. I think that it was treated with not to glorify this particular person, and I think that some other, I'm not going to call out any particular like streaming services of choice, but okay. I feel like some of
Netflix.
them
it's fucking Netflix, we can say that it's
glorify the killings of innocent people and true crime, and romanticize these people. And I feel like this was done in a way where you don't have that, which is how it should be done. But I think it is an important narrative to tell, because it's definitely got a lot to say, not only about, you know, this particular psychopath towards women, but just general men in the 70s, even now towards women.
Even now,
and that is something that as a bloke watching this, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's terrible, but women still experience that almost every day, which is why I feel like women are going to enjoy this movie a lot more than what I think most men will, because they might be able to relate to it a little bit more, and that's obviously just a subjective thing, and not everyone's going to relate to it more. Some people are going to hate it more than others, but I feel like people who have had a situation where, you know, they've been catcalled or glorified or whatever it is, it ends up just being a little bit more paints along those lines, and you can relate to it a lot more. So I think it was a fantastic directorial debut. I'm super excited to see what she does next, because I honestly thought that honestly I'm okay. I'm gonna people are gonna hate me here. I'm not the biggest Anna Kendrick actress fan. Just gonna put that out there right now.
What?
I haven't ever really liked any of her performances. I've always felt that they've been samey or similar, and whatever. Anyway, what I will say is I think as a director, she's great.
Yeah, I think she, was part of two franchises that didn't give her a lot to do. Then she was also part of Scott Pilgrim, where she very much plays like a certain character. And what else has she been in that's like, outside of this pretty commercial role? And then when she was part of a movie that I thought was quite good, Alice Darling from 2022, that was about a woman who was in an abusive relationship. I think she got to, likely from own experience, or I guess just like a collective female experience that is shared, like you said, by so pretty much every woman, got to tell like a story like this. And this is just like a further thing to even give it more of her own voice here. Yeah, I'm also interested in what she does next. I think this was a first good stepping stone to see what she's capable of, and the type of stories she tells. Overall I think it's going into a good direction. Yeah, okay, so that's the stuff that you watched this week. Right, anything else? Yeah, okay, no Blu-ray showcase this week. We're feeling left out, but hey, Lachlan can't spend money.
No, I don't have
every
any
week.
New okay, so funnily enough, I'm currently reading a book about minimalizing my life, my life and possessions and stuff. So I think I might be putting a halt on collecting physical media just for the sake of collecting physical media. And I think my current thought process is I'm going to back up all of those DVDs because of DVD rot. So that's the plan at this moment.
Not a bad plan. I'm all behind that. I'm more of like a digital preserver of media. Certain things that I keep, I don't really grow my collection here. This is all like years old. It looks like a green screen this week. I don't know why, but it's not a green screen. I can literally interact with it. But yeah.
Neither does mine.
Anyways, yeah, it's not green screen. It's just like that. The bottle looks like that. It's produced by 20th Century, and has the heat vision. There's some stuff that I watched. I'll try and briefly go over it, although I am still doing a bunch of catch up with the last couple of weeks of attending festivals. So there's some movies that I missed out on that I do want to get into. First up, Kate Winslet, about Lee Miller, the iconic World War II, or just photographer, but especially war photographer during World War II, that had that iconic image of her sitting naked in Hitler's bathtub, and on the same day that he killed himself as well. This movie is, although riddled with historical inaccuracies, its narrative presentation of how it goes through Lee's past is also something that I truly hated, how like that was actually presented. It was really forced. It felt like a very commercial, easy to consume biopic yet again. For that reason, it was very underwhelming, although Kate Winslet was good in it. Lee Miller is a fascinating person, but that's not a freebie to get a movie made about her. And I ultimately think this was a wasted opportunity on a great person's life that got a pretty basic biopic adaptation. Then Don't Move. This is out now on Netflix, a new horror film that is about a woman getting sedated, but slowly sedated, and her struggle to like escape her pursuer and stay alive. It has a ton of really odd and dodgy, spotty CGI that really, really stands out. I think the performances are just kind of okay with pretty bad writing. And I think this was a pretty underwhelming Netflix film. It's like that type of Netflix film when you say a Netflix film in a derogative way. I was looking forward to this one. It kind of underwhelmed. No Other Land is a Palestinian Israeli co-production about the West Bank destruction through the Israeli military force that happens before, the Hamas attacks and now the siege on Gaza. This very much is a reminder that this conflict dates back to 1967. This has been an ongoing thing. There have been deportations until 92, and now that the settlements are up in West Bank, Israel is doing everything to legitimize them destroying literal like schools. As the children have to climb out of the building, they just like bulldoze them over. They murder, they kill, they misplace people, and it's then focused on a Palestinian activist who has also lost his home, and an Israeli journalist that are made to be enemies, by their respective states. They're destined, to hate each other. But they find like this connection of this injustice through it and craft a really, really moving documentary in a year of really good documentaries, great documentaries. This is yet another standout. And to get ahead of myself here a bit, Kevin also shared his top 10 from Gent. No Other Land was his favorite that he's seen at Gent, which also included Anora, Conclave, A Real Pain, good one, The Room Next Door, The Outrun, Sex Presence, A Different Man, a bunch of films. This was his favorite, so a shout out from our side for this one. Terrifier 3, if you like blood and guts and like cutaways 10 times as like, you see an actor's face and then it cuts back to a prosthetic that is being stabbed and blood splatters around. If that's your thing, hey, you might have a good time with the 2-hour-long Terrifier 3. It just isn't for me. I didn't like the first one, didn't like the third one. I do like that it finds its audience, that it continues to make big bucks at the box office to ensure even bigger, bloodier sequels. It's just not for me. I think the sequel to Slime, Slime. I think the sequel to Smile was way more successful than Terrifier 3. I didn't really like the first Smile movie. That one to me had pretty like spotty acting, pretty bad direction, and I still don't like that main premise of the film. I think it's a bit like dodgy on what the logic is. This one bumps up its $17 million budget to one of 28. So what you get is a lot of like these longer takes that are digitally stitched together. In some places, I think the CGI is pretty spotty as well, but it's thrilling. It has a lot to offer. It's like way showier direction, and that might be something that takes you out of the film. I think it just gets to do way more from the POV of someone who's going into like a delusional state. With that, it just goes bonkers. Like, it's so crazy. The imagery that is created in this film is like, has to get you excited. Although with that premise of like a pop star being like, infected by this, I knew ultimately where it would end up. It was so clear where it would end up that I was a bit disappointed when it actually didn't surprise me at all. But in between, I think it's a ton of fun. And I did not expect it. I was ready to like say this is a really bad horror film, but nope, it's actually pretty good. And then there's a documentary that comes out this week on Netflix. It's called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin, that premiered earlier this year at Sundance. And it's about a Norwegian boy who becomes a young man throughout the runtime of this doc that suffered from degenerative muscular disease until his death early in his life at 25. And he spent most of his life in front of a PC, and his family kind of didn't know that he was actually leading an actual life, just a digital life through World of Warcraft. And through that, we get a bunch of reenacted scenes as he was part of a role-playing server where he made a lot of connections with other people. It's a very kind documentary that shows you like a vulnerable side to pretty much everyone who's involved. I can't help but think it's constructed in a very Netflixy way, where it like holds off on certain things to make like a twist out of it, and it feels to me, it feels a bit gross at times. The way it presents it, the core of the story is really good though. I just think its presentation is a bit lackluster, and it gets a bit repetitive. In like they got all the logs from every thing that's ever been typed in the server, and they can kind of reenact scenes from there. And you know, you question it sometimes, but ultimately, I think overall this is a nice story. It didn't move you as much as it moved some other people, but still a kind of mild recommendation. And then Sebastian Stan in A Different Man, an A24 movie with Renate Reinswe as well. And it comes from director Aaron Schimberg, who's worked with Adam Pearson before. If you don't know about Adam Pearson, like he has neurofibromatosis, as like makes his face look very much different from what we're used to. He's disfigured in that way, and then it takes center stage of what life would be like as someone who wants to be an actor in his role and the type of roles that he would go for, and then it kind of switches as he does a transformative procedure to then turn into Sebastian Stan as someone who looks like that. And then it gets so weird in a good, weird way for A24 that I wanted to rewatch this because I was like, okay, I missed so much. I didn't get this whole movie, but it had a ton in there. I can't wait for you, Lachlan, to go see it because I feel like you'll eat this one up as well.
I was actually going to go see it today, funnily enough, but I ran out of time and I missed out on it, so even more keen to see it now.
We might chat about it next week then. We got a full week there as well, but yeah, we might make some time for it. And then quickly, I'm still doing a bit of work for Gent recap that has yet to come. Kevin is also still watching stuff there on the digital platform. But just a quick thumbs up and down for these titles that, you know, be on the lookout. I think apart from one or two of them, they don't release at least anytime soon. I think that Sex, the first one in that Norwegian trilogy of Sex, Dreams, and Love, was actually really good. Sebastian was kind of mid. Christmas Eve's at Miller's Point was pretty bad. And Riefenstahl was just okay. But those three films, if you want to hear more about that, we will be chatting about them in our Gent recap. And then again, here on screen is Kevin's top 10. I already mentioned it when I talked about No Other Land, but his rating goes from 10 to 1 here as well, with No Other Land at the top. But he also really liked Conclave, and he was a bit lower than most on Anora. But yeah, I can't wait to get to that one as well, Lachlan, at some point. But Lachlan, it is time. Crack open some beers for good old time's sake and talk about...
Let me go get one really quickly.
Yeah. All right. Oh, he's fancy with it. Oh, okay. Lachlan can switch a tire and...
You like that? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, yapping a bunch in what we've been watching, it gives you more than enough time to prep yourself. So maybe for those who skipped ahead and didn't get the context, we do have a bit of a history with the Venom franchise. It was something that we connected with. We got drinks and watched the first one early into getting to know each other at film school. In honor of that, before we talk about Venom: The Last Dance, I will take a shot of non-disclosed black liquid that hopefully will not give me symbiote after effects. But yeah, okay. This has been on my shelf, I think, I kid you not, for 7 years. So
You are going to be so fucking dead tomorrow.
Here goes nothing.
Is that worth it?
It tastes like licorice, and
okay, not bad.
Actually tastes pretty disgusting. But hey, I'll chase it down with a shot of tequila.
Nice, good. I'm just having some ginger beer.
All right, Lachlan, let's talk about Venom: The Last Dance, the third and probably last one in the Venom franchise. Here, it's been received so far not too well. You know, a 2.8 on Letterboxd, which is actually, since I noted that down, it's gone down to a 2.6. So let's just update that. On IMDb, it has gone down to a 6.2, and on Metacritic, based on 37 reviews, it is a 41. What?
That all decreased. That's great.
Yeah, it all decreased since more people have seen it.
Oh, man.
What is notable about this franchise is that the budget has kind of stayed the same. They've all been in the like $100 to $120 million range, which is, I think, a note that other franchises could take from it, because they do tend to bloat it up for future installments, and then they just don't have the returns that you'd expect. But I think this has always been a franchise that does super well internationally, especially in China. I think it's looking at a $157 million opening there. It's like crazy big. Really, really good for them. It's also done quite well otherwise. Like the first one has grossed $856 million, and the second one $501 million, I think, in the at the worldwide box office. I guess we didn't give them the logline yet for what this movie is about.
Till death do they part. Eddie and Venom are on the run, hunted by both of their worlds, and with the net closing in, the duo are forced into a devastating decision that will bring the curtains down on Venom and Eddie's last dance.
Okay, interesting. It has a sort of road trip. The obvious buddy cop thing has been there since the first two films, but the road trip aspect is new. They're on the run. They're always on the move, and I guess they're going to Las Vegas. This will be a spoiler review. We'll get into the full-on details for the conclusion of this franchise that I think has always been a mess. The only reason we are talking about this is because we do have a connection with it. Otherwise, we would be talking about something else this week. Because not to get ahead of myself here too much, I don't think this movie is very good. But I'm gonna give it over to you, Lachlan, first, because I have no clue if you got the drinks as well in memory of us always drinking to talk about these films, to watch these films. Did that lift your spirits and you had a good time with Venom: The Last Dance, or was it underwhelming to you as well?
So I went and saw this in a Lux screening, which meant I got to have some alcohol while I watched it. So I was definitely having a better time more than most. Look, the easiest way to get started with this is obviously to tackle it head on. Is this a good movie? No. Is this a movie that has the best presentation of Eddie and Venom? No. Does this story have too many side characters for me to give a shit about? Yes. Does this movie have the most underwhelming villain use of all time? Yes.
Yeah, Horcrux, whatever it's called.
Yeah. The thing in the back of his head. I feel like this movie was overall a mess. But what I will say is, I had a good time. I had such a good time. I was.
We're here for a good time and not a long time, and also
we're here for a good time. Yeah. We're here for Venom. We're here for Eddie. We're here to have a little bit of fun. And I'll tell you what, I had a little bit of fun watching this. Was it stupid fun? Yes. Was it very boring in the opening? Yes. But was it entertaining with the fights? No. But you know what? Something about it just kind of made me realize, you know what? Once in a while, I have to watch something like this. And you know what? Even though I didn't think it was a good movie, there have been worse movies out there that were not entertaining, which made them even further than that. So this is actually not that far down on my list of movies of the year because I actually had a decent time with it. Do I think Tom Hardy was fantastic in this? Honestly, I think he really hated doing this one. Do I think that Tuedel Ejiofor, I butchered his name, was good in this? No, absolutely not. He was just boring. Do I think Juno Temple was good in this? No. Do I think Peggy Lou was good in this? Yes. The only good moment in this entire movie was that damn dance scene where they were dancing around, and I really enjoyed that. And I can tell you for a fact that is the highlight. I love movies when they just do a random dance scene, like in Ex Machina, for example. It was like, I know people were saying this was a musical. It's not really a musical. But people were saying this was a musical. I really was excited for this, and I fucking love that moment, dude. I love that moment.
Yeah, to me, like one of the surprising highlights is that Rhys Ifans, Martin, and his family, drive their RV into this film and just never leave.
No,
you're like,
it was such a random intake of characters, and I was like, whatever. I got frustrated at times because honestly, it was mostly the first part because it was just so slow. And even Tanika said, she was like, everything happened in the second half. Like, nothing happened in the first half, and everything happened in the second half. And I was like, yeah, I think
once they go to Vegas,
I think they realized they had a very boring story up until literally Vegas, where Mrs. Chen enters, and it's a way better movie. So for me, I just felt that this movie sucked, not because of, it being a shit movie. I just think it sucked because it was a bit boring than the other ones. Like, the other ones were a lot more fun. This one was fun. It just wasn't fun,
Yeah, well, the first one was within the city. He had way more interactions in a densely populated area. They could do the quips and like hiding, whatever. The second one was more about it's just sexy time. There were a bunch of people horny for each other. Woody Harrelson and I don't know who was opposite him.
It was a way better villain.
And then here you're just basically left alone on a road trip with these two characters that are not that fun when they interact with each other. I think the comedic timing, like the vibe that you got, that Tom Hardy wasn't feeling it. I did think of Ben Affleck when I was watching this. I was like,
nice.
You remind me of someone who's not having a great time right now. He might have had a good time with it. But to me, also, a lot of the presentation of this really amateurish type of off-framing thing of things happening, like whenever the Venom arms come in for like comedic bits, they feel like they belong on like a late night show on that level of production. And I think a lot of the CGI was so not good. I don't know. A lot of it just didn't really work for me. And it took me quite out of it, where I was wondering, they're framing it in this way, in a way that I really don't like. And yeah, just for like comedy's sake, when you can clearly see that a lot of stuff is happening like off screen. To me, it was like that part of it was just a big old mess. My two favorite moments were when Martin basically just screams, alien invasion. That was great. And at the end, when they have a montage of all the moments that we've shared with Venom, I burst out laughing. I did not feel embarrassed, for there weren't that many people seeing this film with me, but I just had to laugh because that was silly as fuck. Like, to put that montage in of him just walking the streets of New York, reminiscing on the time he had with Venom. It's such a like fourth wall break thing of like, let's appreciate the send off for the character. When it doesn't feel like they've earned it, but hey, maybe you feel differently because you were inebriated. And I wasn't. I gotta say, I took this one sober, and I'm sorry for that. It was a big misjudgment to watch this film sober. But yeah, what was like your favorite moments in the film when you say you enjoyed it, right? What part of it, apart from like, I guess it's just silly dumb action?
The dancing, the dancing scene was fantastic.
Goes back to the dancing.
I enjoyed the singing in the car. That was a highlight of
Life
fantastic
no, wait, what
rendition.
was it?
Fantastic.
To ground control.
David Bowie, Starman. I think that's the song.
Yeah.
Anyway, I liked those moments. I enjoyed some of the action. I won't deny it. Some of the action was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think it's because it was a Avengers level threat without the Avengers, except we had a whole bunch of different colored Venoms, and that was fun because they all had their own unique
pink
things.
one.
And then there was the female Venom, which I don't know what her name is, but I fought her
Venom, but with a W.
Spider-Man 2, and that was all fun for me. I had a fun time, a great time. I was entertained in those moments, but it's still a letdown. Still a boring movie. Still shitty characters, shitty story, shitty dialogue, shitty. I didn't hate the CGI. Look, the CGI is fine. I can get with the CGI. The CGI is okay, but we need to make Venom great again. And I know that Tom Hardy's contract is over, but
yeah,
we need him to go away. We need Venom to fight Spider-Man. I want Venom to go up against Tom Holland because Spider-Man 4 is confirmed. Spider-Man 4 exists, and I need Spider-Man and Venom to fight because that's better. Unfortunately, this side spin-off story of Venom is super boring, but Venom against Spider-Man is way better. Let's make Venom great again.
There was I don't know if you stayed for the post-credit scene.
I stayed for one. I didn't stay for the end one because I just.
Oh, is there another one? I only saw
bored.
the first one too.
I only stayed for the first one, and I don't think anything's going to happen.
Andy
with that.
Serkis.
And also, you can't take end credit scenes for anything because the end credit scene of Spider-Man had Tom Hardy jumping into the universe of the MCU, and the start of this movie retconned all of that. It was a fucking waste of time, a fucking waste of an end credit scene. That's all.
I mean, Eternals does that. Like so many movies of recent memory that are adjacent to the MCU have kind of done that. Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't be surprised if they, take a different route with Venom. And I don't know if I need to see of this iteration of it. I think I'm good. I don't need to see more of it. And I don't know if it would even work like this version with Tom Holland. Obviously, it would work in a movie, but it wouldn't be good. He's not a villain.
He's not a villain.
Yeah.
He's a hero. Yeah. He literally is a good guy. And that's not Venom. Venom bad. They're bad.
Alien slimy thing makes you bad guy. And in this movie, it's not really that. It's like there's another MacGuffin that like they're being the MacGuffin and they're being chased. And one of them has to die by the end of it. We're back to serving drinks. What is that? What did the guy put in there? Was that like some kind of alcohol or was it?
No idea.
Nope.
All I know is that it's timed perfectly for me to run all the way to my bar and then get a drink and then come back.
Yeah, sorry. I was paying way more attention to what the guy was whipping up than like talking further about Venom. Because I gotta say, I took a lot of notes for this one. But I couldn't help
any notes.
You just were in there for the vibes and the drinks.
I was in there for the vibes.
Yeah, I mean, there's also Detective Mulligan, Stephen Graham was in this. I think they just like need a bunch of bodies at the end to fight this bigger threat, and justifying that in the story never is like it's never justified. And Juno Temple I think was a bit surprising to then give a symbiote thing to.
Use.
Yeah. She just used it, I guess, to not explode at the end. I think the action scene by the end is like the first one I think was pretty underwhelming, right? There was the CGI slop mess of just two same looking thingies clashing up against each other. The second one was in that church, I think. That was also a bit messy. And this one, I think, is the clearest out of the three that just has the action feels.
Yeah. I agree. I was trying to figure out what you're talking about. I thought you were talking about the first fight in this movie, and I was like, that's not the case. No. But no, I get what you're talking about. I
think it's a step up when it comes to the action. I think it's pretty fun to fight a larger monster.
Colors help people see things.
Power Rangers Venom Edition.
Purple Venom, orange Venom.
It was almost like Chrome Venom. I liked that he was like, it felt like he was like Chrome. Like
Chrome
he could be
Venom?
a cool card. Well, he definitely was like blue, but yeah.
Andy Serkis, Null.
Yeah, do you know
or
who
Knoll?
that character is? Because I don't.
I did because
you
they
Google?
fucking explained the shit out of it in the opening of the movie.
I get.
My
yeah,
God.
I mean, like,
really like if you don't know who he is after seeing this movie, then you didn't really pay attention because like every other second is just like he's the creator of us, and then we put him in a prison, and then he can't if one of us dies and then we bond with you, we create this unlocking key, which seems like a fucking big gaping idea of a mistake. Yeah, anyway.
No, I meant more as in the sense of like what he does in the comics. If you're familiar with the character, obviously it's clear what he does in this movie.
Oh no, I don't know who this guy is.
So like I don't know, because Venom is someone who pops up in a lot of the comics. I'm not familiar with any of the other like versions that they show here. Only like Carnage was something that I've heard before.
Although I will say one of the coolest looking villains. What I will also say is the opening of the movie looked like a video game cutscene. That's all I want to say. Is it definitely looked like a video game cutscene, but that is a compliment to video game cutscenes because they're getting better, and that's a insult to movies because their CGI is staying the same. I think from my knowledge of Null, he's a badass. And I would like to see more of him. He was behind Gore the God Butcher's mission to hunt down and kill various deities. Bummer. In addition to having some come into conflict with the Silver Surfer, he created the old black, the Necro Sword, the one that was used in Thor, Love and Thunder, God, whatever.
Oh.
Alien races known as the symbiotes. Excellence.
Wait, wasn't that in Eternals? The like black sword thing?
No. I thought the Necro Sword was the one that Gore uses in. You know what? Yeah, let's say yes. Look, I just want to say,
it's a movie.
It's a mess. It's just a movie. That's all it is. It's just a. Let's not get overwhelmed by it. It's just a movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some really cool abilities according to his IMDb: dark energy manipulation, supreme unbreakonesis, symbiote domination, symbiote creation. He's got healing factor, shape shifting, immortality. That's a bit of an overkill one. Whoever wrote that into existence kind of fucked up. Flight, skilled hand to hand. Combatant. I really want Marvel to take all the shit back from Sony. Like just buy Sony and buy the shit back, because some of this shit would be so cool if it was done by someone who was competent. And this is not an insult to Kelly Marcel. This is her first directing gig, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But man, they fucked this shit up.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, the stuff that she's written, isn't much better either.
But again, who cares? It's just a movie. It's just a movie.
It's just a movie.
It's just a movie.
Like I don't know what. Like I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about this film other than just like being I don't know how to talk about this film. I think like I gave it a 1.5 out of 5. I don't know if I have much else to add beyond
Ewan,
that.
Can you do me a favor right now?
Yeah.
Can you go to Venom: The Last Dance on Letterboxd for me?
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny that it doesn't have a runtime.
Yeah.
It's an experience, it stays with you.
Do me a solid. Go to Venom: The Last Dance. Are you on there right now?
Yeah.
And I want you to look at the rating. What's the rating right now?
2.6.
Fantastic. What's the number slightly above that right now? Just above that.
What do you mean?
Well,
there's 68 fans right now.
Fantastic. Refresh the page.
I've been refreshing for it's just a 68.
Refresh the page right now.
I'm still refreshing. I'm constantly
refreshing.
Refresh the
page right now.
It's
in my top 4. I should refresh. I should be the 69th fan. It's in my 4 favorites right now. Go to my profile. You will see it in the top 4 right now. I took out Princess Mononoke and I put it in there.
Oh God, no! I guess another symbiote film. There we go. The fucking slurping tongue. I think the horse thing was also they showed as much as of that in the trailer as there was in the movie. There was definitely some stuff cut from the road movie aspect of this film. But thank you so much for your service, Lachlan, by the way. That it's still at 68 fans, but it's very nice
Fucking
that you're
hell.
the 69 fan.
How long does it take to update?
Maybe refreshes every hour or so, maybe every full hour. I don't know. One more thing that I while we were doing that, while you were becoming the biggest fan of Venom: The Last Dance ever, something that I wrote down, the needle drops in this film. In my Letterboxd review, speaking of Letterboxd, I just wrote, did they get like a discount code for licensing music, or like what was happening with this film? Maybe I just since it still isn't that festival movie mindset where I don't expect every movie to have 7 like, pretty iconic songs in there, but it had Wild World, Don't Stop Me Now, like Ground Control Thing, Tequila, Dancing Queen, Memories. Like there was just a bit of everything in this. Adds to the whole messiness of the film, but I feel like if you don't have a movie with a story, you just add in a bunch of songs that people like, and they're like, yeah, no, that was a pretty good experience. It's basically like going to a DJ set and just staring at the DJ who's in a weird Venom costume for 90 minutes and then just leaving, going like, yeah, no, that was pretty good. Although you maybe just liked some of the needle drops. It's still 3 out of 10 to me. Lachlan, obviously it's in your top 4. Perfect movie, 5 out of 5.
It actually is. No. No. It's getting a 2. It's getting a 2.
There we go.
Because it's getting a 2, and my review says there was a murder on the dance floor.
Yeah, it's very disappointing that we don't get to see Venom cock. We got Venom Frog, we got Venom
Go
Fish,
now!
we got Venom...
Go now! Go to the page right 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 now!
I'm still
live in front of your
there.
eyes. Get there,
Yeah.
refresh it. How many fans? How many fans? How many
Still
fans
at
are there?
60 Still at
It
68
says
for me.
60. It says 69 right here. I'm peeking. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it doesn't for me. I don't know what
No, it
Letterboxd
just
has
went back
against.
to 68. Someone took it off their thing.
Now I see it at 69. It's at 69 for me now. This is a whole roller coaster of emotions.
Someone's
back to
taken
68.
it off of their top 4. Someone literally took it off their top 4 because I've added it there. Someone wanted to be 69.
Someone's listening in right now. It's probably Kevin. He has access to all of this. As much as I would like to contribute to the bit, and I was considering putting it in my top 4, I'm not. Nope. The sanctity of... Oh, no, it's still at 68. All of that excitement put aside, is there anything that you would want to pair up with The Last Dance?
Yeah. I think that there's only other one way that you can really get it all out of your body at the end of it all, because obviously it's such a relaxing movie.
Acid.
This movie.
Yeah.
I think the second one ends so well, just on the beach. It's fantastic. But as a double pick, after you watch The Last Dance, you just got to get that groove back into you. So the only movie I can think of would be Footloose. Is just Footloose. Kevin
Dancing,
Bacon,
yeah.
bringing back
Spin-off with Mrs. Chen.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. That's all I can think right
we'd
now.
like
Footloose.
that. Well, I'm going back to the origins of all of this, and I think to really understand the Venom franchise, you do have to watch 8th Mile. Because we got to get back to the original Venom by Eminem, and I think that's what we should do. We should all question the decisions that led up to the conclusion to this trilogy. And
Yeah, man.
let's go back. Let's go back to the roots. Detroit in the 90s or 80s. I don't know. Eminem's pretty old. But yeah, that's it. Yep. No, you go.
I've just noticed that you've logged 553 movies this year, and if I go 3 movies back, Venom: The Last Dance would have been your 550th movie of the year. How do you feel about that?
Well, the thing is, I truly don't care about like when I watch what, but since Letterboxd is kind of, I think, holding those stats, I don't know if it's for 550. I think it does like for 500, 600th movie, or I think it does it every 50 steps. So that might even get like on my Venom, on my Letterboxd year in review page. This movie might even get like its own poster thing. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. It is not on there. the diary milestones have ended with my 500 movie. I don't know what they're doing after this. If I
They
just
haven't
get another
prepared for a
line.
madman like you.
Yeah, it's truly built different.
They're like,
fucker
there's
watches
no
more
one
than a
that's
movie
going
a
to
day?
watch. Yeah, there's no one that
2
watches more
movies
than
a day.
365 movies in the year. And then there's you
Yeah.
that comes along and they're like, this is fucked. Also,
Well, up to
this week
500,
definitely.
I guess.
I got all of this off of a royalty-free website, and then like ready, it's gonna go black in a second. Ready.
Well, they got
ready.
the script
Oh,
there
ready?
as well. I think you're a customer as much as Kelly Marcel likely is. Marcel, the Venom with the Last Dance.
With the shoes
all right,
on.
that's well, the shoes off. A lot of the movie is like obsessed with shoes as well.
Oh
for
yeah, it's a lot of
weird
shoes.
reason.
Yeah, Marcel.
but
Yeah.
It's the end of an era, Lachlan.
It's
you
the
know,
end of the era.
watching. But I'm sure we'll find another franchise to get drunk to. It's just a matter of time. Anyways, let's have a look at the new releases of this week. The first week of November of 2024 sees here the new Robert Zemeckis film in Australian as well as American theaters. We also got My Dead Friend Zoe that stars Natalie Morales and Harris Morgan Freeman with an army vet that has a dead friend pop up in her mind. Looks interesting. Absolution, that's yet another Liam Neeson action movie. It also stars Ron Perlman, and like we talked about in news this week, Liam Neeson seems to be done with these types of action films. He's done a lot of them. Hopefully he's made his bank, but yeah, returned maybe to some other roles. Out in limited release, we are getting Steve McQueen's Blitz. We don't have a release date for Australia and Switzerland at this time, but I saw this one already. It's probably like his worst so far. The man cannot make like an actual bad movie, so I think it's still worth seeing, but we'll talk about that later on in the year. And then Juror Nr. 2, like we thoroughly discussed and I got enraged by, the likely last movie from Clint Eastwood would only be showing in US theaters in less than 50 of them, likely about like 20 to 25. It does have a release date for the rest of the world that is a bit wider, although in some places like Australia, we don't have a release date yet. In Switzerland, that's January 2nd. Out on VOD this week from October 28th to the 3rd of November is Joker Folie à Deux. It's coming out on, I think I read that it wasn't even, maybe I clicked that wrong. No, it must be premium on demand. It would be such a like sting to them if they're like, no, we're gonna even release this on VOD, like cheaper. The premium VOD is like $20. VOD is like 7 to, I don't know, 5 to like $10. They're definitely gonna try to make some money off of this, but monumental flop of the year. Then we got Martha over on Netflix, a documentary about Martha Stewart from R.J. Cutler, who has made a lot of these like celebrity docs. He did the one for Billie Eilish as well. Then we got Time Cut over on Netflix. A teenage girl travels back to the early 2000s to stop a vicious killer from murdering her sister. That does sound kind of eerily familiar to some other premises, but instead of the 80s or the 90s, I guess we are getting nostalgia baited for the 2000s. Then we got The Apprentice over on Premium VOD, also Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, as well as White Bird. Then over on Netflix, we get the second season of The Diplomat, and Olivia Rodrigo Guts World Tour will have its, festival tour movie thing over on Netflix too. And then out back into theaters for the 10th anniversary is the first John Wick film that will be screening in the States on November 3rd and 6th. The same goes for Australia, where that movie will also be playing for its 10th anniversary. And you are also getting the release of Saturday Night, which we will be discussing likely next week. We don't have a set release dates for Switzerland yet, but I think I can get my hands on a copy of it. You also are getting here from Robert Zemeckis as well as a 4K version of Godzilla 1954. So that might be one that's worth going out to theaters for if you want to see the big guy on the big screen. And then for the 20th anniversary of Shaun of the Dead, that had its screenings, I think, in the UK and the States already. A couple months later, you know, as usual, Australia also gets to see that on the big screen as well. Over in Switzerland, we are getting Black Box Diaries. We got the interview with Shiori Ito up on the channel already. It's my favorite documentary of the year. potentially like any documentary that I've ever seen, I can very much recommend it. So if you are based in Switzerland or in the States, it's already out. Go seek it out. It's definitely worth seeing, and hopefully we'll get an Oscar nomination down the line as well. Then we are getting Anora a couple of months ahead of you, Lachlan, because that doesn't come out until I guess the second Christmas day for you, Boxing Day, I think. So we'll have to wait on our in-detailed review for that one, although we did already cover it in our Venice recap. Sorry, not in our Venice recap, but we will be covering it in our Gent recap that's upcoming and should be on the channel soon, yada yada. But then finally, Terrifier 3 and No Other Land will also be in Swiss theaters this week. So lots to see. We can recommend a bunch of them. And next week we will be chatting likely about Saturday Night, maybe A Different Man. And here we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, lots of movies to see, Lachlan. I'm glad we got to do this. Let's, I guess, take a celebratory last twig of alcohol to say goodbye to the Venom franchise and hopefully our ongoing franchise, even without Tom Hardy and the symbiote thing existing. I'm glad we got this far. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.